Here's a command for you to follow. Follow God's instructions in your mission. We, in chapter 10, are seeing that Jesus is sending out the 12 apostles, because apostle means what? Do you remember from last reading? It means sent out one. So Jesus's 12 disciples, they were called to be with Jesus, and he calls and sends them out to be on mission. And so, just like the disciples had their mission, they became apostles, and they were the great foundation of the church on which the church was built. Jesus, of course, being the chief cornerstone, but we know all that the apostles did in laying down the foundation of the church and its future growth all over the world. But we need to follow God's instructions in our mission. So, verse 5 says, These 12 Jesus sent out. We had them named in yesterday's reading, and he instructed them. He is telling them what their mission is. Now, we do need to remember that this mission that is happening in Matthew chapter 10 is actually a training mission. It is, of course, they are going and proclaiming the kingdom of heaven, but their ultimate sent out mission is what's going to happen after Jesus goes, ascends to be with the Father, after he dies, after he's buried, and after he rose from the dead. So we'll see that actually some of the instructions are a hair different for them post Jesus's resurrection and his death. So let us look at what he is giving them in this, quote, training mission, as I'm going to call it. So Jesus says, he's telling these 12 disciples, telling the 12 apostles, go nowhere among the Gentiles and enter no town of the Samaritans. Now, we do know that Jesus told them at the end of Matthew to go where? To go into all the world, to make disciples of all nations. So indeed, the Gentiles are a part of our mission, but for the early part of Jesus's ministry, it was reserved only for the Jews. The Gentiles, the nations, would not receive the gospel until the Jews have fully rejected their Messiah. So he's saying we don't go to the Gentiles. He says you don't need to enter into the town of the Samaritans. Now, we do know that Jesus did have a ministry with the Samaritans. We see a record of that in John chapter 5, I believe, with the woman at the well, the Samaritan woman. We see a great work that happens there in that town. So Jesus does do some work there, but I guess at this time, that has not been Jesus's, at this point in Jesus's lifetime. They are not doing anything with the Samaritans at this point. Verse 6, but go rather to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. So the initial one is the Jew first and the Greek second. That's how the Apostle Paul summarizes it. So the apostles, the disciples, were to spend time with the Jews and to preach to them and tell them that the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So they have a message, they have a proclamation. They're supposed to proclaim the same message that Jesus was proclaiming. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. And that is our message today. We say the same thing. Jesus's message is our message. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. It is here. It is coming upon us. And one day Jesus will return to judge the living and the dead. So there is the mission in the proclamation that they were to say. Verse 8, they had a particular what to do. Their mission was to heal the sick, raise the dead, cleanse the lepers, cast out demons. They were going to do all kinds of wonderful helps to the people around them. And then Jesus tells them, you received without paying. You didn't pay for this great gift, so you're going to give without pay. There's this sacrificial service that we have as Christians, and even some traditions. And I think it's also good for us to think of the pastoral pay and what you pay your pastoral staff as you support, as we think about how you support us, your pastors, and how you support the ministry staff. We think of it as honorariums. We think it of as support. We do not think of it as a paycheck, even though it is at some level that. No, we give without pay. You all support me, and then I do as much as I can for as many people as I can. We give without pay. You support me in that situation. So you even see kind of that that thought process is still even within our churches today. And then that was what Jesus is telling them to do as well. We should not be getting rich off the services that God has given us, the talents that God has given us. Verse 9 says, acquire no gold or silver or copper for your belts. What he's saying is you don't need to, when he's saying acquire, he's not saying don't earn money. What he's saying is don't take money with you on your trip. You need to be dependent on the people you're going to. You see how that ties in with how we support our ministers and our pastors and our ministry staff. So he's saying here, don't be taking things with you. Verse 10, don't take any bag for your journey. Of course, Jesus is going to tell them later on. He says, I told you at one point, don't take a bag for your journey, but I want you to take one now, or two tunics. Or sandals or a staff, for the laborer deserves his food. He's saying at this point, you're going to go and be dependent on whoever you're staying with. But then later on, Jesus is going to say you do need to take provisions for yourself. And this is as we're leading up to the great ascending out. Remember, this is kind of the training mission, if you will, of the disciples, of the apostles. Verse 11, and Jesus is going to tell them how to operate. Whatever town or village you enter, find out who is worthy in it and stay there until you depart. So don't go into one house. If there's somebody that's worthy and you find out, oh, they got better chicken over there, I'm going to go stay with them instead. No, he's saying stay in that same place. Don't be moving around. Verse 12, as you enter the house, greet it. And missionaries will still even practice this when they are going into new territory. They will look for what is sometimes called a person of peace, somebody within the culture that they are burdened to reach, and there's somebody that uniquely is taking care of them and blessing them. And that this is where we get this whole idea of a person of peace. Verse 13, and if the house is worthy, that means if they aren't um, vagabonds, if they aren't doing all kinds of sinful, silly things. If the house is worthy, let your peace come upon it. But if it is not worthy, let your peace return to you. You don't need to be staying where sinful things are happening. And then Jesus is even telling them what to do if they fail. If anyone will not receive you or listen to your words, if you go throughout the town, nobody's listening to you, no person of peace, then shake off the dust from your feet. And when you leave that town or house, truly I say to you, it will be more bearable on the day of judgment for the land of Sodom and Gomorrah, where we get the word sodomy from. It's going to be worse for those places than it will be for those towns that heard the message of Jesus Christ and rejected it. So we have a mission to do. They had a particular mission to do. Let us look at the journal entry. Remember, a good thing that you could do is when you come to this text, hopefully you've got the little reading plan, the bookmarks that we have. You read the reading before you watch the video. You try to find a space before you come to the video, a sin to avoid, a sin to avoid, a attitude to change, a promise to claim, attitude to change, a command to obey, or an example to follow, and then do a little journal entry, either in your journal Bibles that we have at the church, or in a particular journal that you have. And here's the easy thing to write. Uh, the scriptural insight that we got from this, God gives us instructions in our mission. That's what God does. He told the first 12, and He tells us. He tells us who to go to, what to do, and how to do it. And He even tells us what to do if the mission fails. You see that in that text. And here's the prayer coming from that scriptural insight. Father, help me to know who you have called me to. I really personally believe God has called you to particular people. We think about this when we think of who's our one. We think of this when we think of particular ministries that God has called you to. There's a special niche of people for you to serve. So who has God called you to, and what would you have me to do? Ask the Lord. If you don't have a firm understanding of your own personal mission and how that ties into Christ's mission, would you pray? Say, Lord, please tell me who is it? Don't be an owl, I guess. Who? Tell me who you have called me to, and tell me what you would have me to do. And then here's the application. I'll look around. I'll see. This is the old Experiencing God, Henry Blackaby business. It is all about looking around and seeing where God is already at work, and you get involved in what God is doing. Friend, God is at work all around us in the Tri-County region. It is fantastic. Let's open our eyes and see it, and see what we can do as we follow after Him. So the to obey this command, I'll look around and see who is around me I can serve and what abilities do I have that I can serve them with. I pray that's been a blessing to you, and I'll see you in the next video.